We're here again. Interesting session today. Every day is different in our Torah learning group therapy, trying to figure out the world reality of Chagigah 15a. Ooh.
Indeed.
Okay.
A toughie, Dave. A toughie.
It's tough because it's the essence of life. What we're learning here. There's no question about it, right?
100%.
There's the goodies and the baddies in the world. There's good and evil.
Right. Okay. That's a good introduction to this last piece of text, which is trying to understand what Rabbi Akiva meant when he, in his interpretation of the verse, 𝘠𝘠𝘗 𝘠𝘰𝘮𝘄 𝘼𝙭 𝘠𝘰𝘮, because remember, that's what we got. We are being given a formula from God. Yes, via King Solomon, via Solomon. We have been given written what's called with Ruach HaKodesh, with the divine spirit, means that it's correct. These formulae are perfect. They are the genuine material and genuine data, we call it, that we need to live our lives by. And so we're bound by these formulae of the written Torah, but we have to understand them. And Rabbi Akiva is giving us an interpretation that we need to understand how he got what he said with what God via King Solomon said. There's the projector and there's what's projected on the screen. And how do we get from the one to the other? That's our job. Right. That's our beautiful opportunity that we have when we learn Torah together. And the projector is projecting 𝘠𝘠𝘗 𝘠𝘰𝘮𝘄 𝘼𝙭 𝘠𝘰𝘮. Also this, corresponding to this, did God make. And Rabbi Akiva says what that means is Zacha tzaddik, if the tzaddik merits, Nossel 𝘠𝑙𝑘𝑢𝑖 v'chelik chaveroi b'Gan Eden, then he reclaims his portion and the portion of his companion in Gan Eden. Nischayev Rosha, when the Rosha is liable, Nossel 𝘠𝑙𝑘𝑢𝑖, he reclaims his portion, v'chelik chaveroi b'Gehenna, he reclaims his portion and the portion of his companion in Gehenna, in hell.
Everything goes together in pairs. I think what I'm getting from this, firstly, when you say formulae, I'm hearing a fixed infrastructure of how the world works. Hashem says it's 𝘠𝘠𝘮 𝘠𝘰𝘮 𝘼𝑎 Elokim. That is an infrastructure. You got to, as a human being, you've got to fit into Hashem's infrastructure. And if you go into it as a tzaddik, you and your friend, who you influence, how you are, the people around you, you're going to a beautiful place called Gan Eden. The world is going to be wonderful. If you're a Russia and you've come to reshut the wickedness, you're going to take people down with you. 𝘍 𝘠𝘰𝘮𝘄. You agree? You think that's where we got to?
Right. Question. Absolutely. But I think everybody realizes that I think that a very young child could say that kind of understanding and understand and buy into it. That's very, very straightforward, right? That, righteous people influence other people to be righteous and they get Gan Eden. Well, wicked people influence other people to be wicked and they get Gehenna. Okay, yes, that's not new. I don't even know if we need King Solomon to say that. That is, good people end up in good places and bring others with them, and bad people end up in bad places and bring other people with them. Is that the verse? Is that what we've been is that what's being taught over here? So usually what we learn doesn't contradict common knowledge, doesn't contradict common sense, but it adds a degree of profundity, depth, and essence to what we already know intrinsically and from ourselves. And that's what we're trying to learn. We're trying to learn that there's an added dimension that the God and the sages are offering us, which will enhance our lives, which will empower us further, which is really what the nature of study of Torah is all about. The study of Torah isn't merely to give us ideas, intellectual information. It's to empower us and to encourage us and to motivate us to implement and to make a difference
into the world.
So, to the world.
Okay.
Okay. So let's understand that today's work is to try and understand what the deeper message of Rabbi Akiva is when he interprets the verse of King Solomon for us. 𝘠𝘠𝘗𝘼 𝘠𝘠𝘗 𝘼𝙭 𝘠𝑒𝑙𝑜KIM. A tzaddik who taps into that verse in a certain way will become meritorious, will merit to reclaim his portion and the portion of his friend in Gan Eden. What that means is, and the opposite, by the way, for the Rosha. The opposite for the Rosha will be liable to reclaim his portion and the portion of his friend in Gehenna. And you'll be amazed. We were amazed when we realized what's actually written in this verse. What's written in this verse, according to this Gemara here today. Today's news is that the tzaddik sees himself as being part of a team. The 𝑧 and the 𝑧, we are part of the same team. Humanity is essentially on the same side. We're all on the same side. And what makes us on the same side is that we have a common destiny and a common purpose called Gan Eden. And that Gan Eden is not the heavenly place of
fairy tales,
engagement with God. It's an earthly place of an engagement with godliness. And so if I want to be a tzaddik who's a giver, but I want to merit, I have to take that giving mentality and I have to implement it through a modus operandi of having somebody else called my fellow human being as being part of the same team, as working for a better world.
Right.
𝘠𝑒𝑙𝑜KIM. 𝘠𝑒𝑚 𝑎𝑠𝑎. That's how he did it. That's how God works. He works by having two mindsets, two paradigms. One is that I'm a giver, and two, that I give through seeing my fellow person as a team player and being part of the same aspiration to make this world a better place. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody else is a tzaddik as well. I don't have to be with blinkers. I can't say that everybody who's out to get me is necessarily a tzaddik as well. But my mindset is that is what I want. That's my mission statement. That's my ideal. That's my hope. That's my aspiration, that I will see you and everybody else as a part of the same team. We're part of the big 𝑧, and our purpose is to fix up the garden. Then I have understood 𝘠𝑒𝑚 𝑎𝑠𝑎 𝘠𝑒𝑚, when I see myself as being part of the 𝑧 and somebody else as being part of the same 𝑧. We might differ. We might have different ways and aspirations and roles to play, like the beautiful analogy is always the orchestra. Everybody's playing a different instrument, but we're all playing to get to the same final stanza. That is the tzaddik's rendition of that verse, right?
I hear that, and again, you could say people may know that. You could even say a child may know that intuitively. But I think what this verse comes to tell you, when it says it clearly in the letters 𝑧 and 𝑧, it means that you've got to walk in the world with this mindset. Don't not walk with this mindset. You have to deeply accept and understand that everyone is connected. One way or the other, you are connected. And the way that you work it out well, where you produce this beautiful garden that will blossom, is if you do it with tzidkut. It's a choice. It is a choice. It is a choice.
Of course.
When you come up against people who do not see the world in that way of tzidkut, and we do see this, either blatant or subtle, passive or aggressive, aggressive, passive, they're living that mindset. That's the hard part, where you've got to supersede their limitations, and but you still see them as a zeh.
That's right.
That's hard.
That's hard. Very hard. Very hard. We'll talk about that, because I'm sure you will think lights will switch on when we eventually, at the end of the sugya, we'll talk about a man by the name of Acher.
Oh,
the name of Acher is otherness, and the otherness, of course, rings bells. He doesn't bind to 𝘒 𝙍𝙬𝙗. He's 𝘒 𝑣𝑎𝑻, this and that. No, he doesn't buy into the commonality and the unity of humanity.
Right.
Wow, that sounds good. The commonality and the unity of humanity.
Write it down. That's good title for a book.
It is. And also not bad for a fridge magnet.
We will.
Then comes the Rosha. Let's finish this off, Dave. Then comes the Rosha. And know what the Rosha thinks? The Rosha thinks that humanity stinks. Wow, that also can make a fridge magnet. The Rosha thinks that humanity stinks.
Yeah.
And so we're all basically grabbers. We're all 𝘠𝘰𝘮𝘋. This guy, 𝘠𝘰𝘮𝘋, against this guy. God, 𝙍𝙚𝙗, you know what? God was having a bad day in his laboratory. And he came out with this thing called the human being. And the human being is inherently a taker.
Survival of the fittest.
Survival of the fittest. She was.
Judaism, as Rabbi Sachs says, is a protest against that.
And that is this Gemara. He's got King Solomon and the creator of the universe behind him, Rabbi Sachs of blessed memory. He's got something to rely on. And so what comes out of this very cryptic piece of Talmud, very mathematical, very difficult, very dense and tight, is a very simple principle. How do you view humanity? Is humanity essentially made up of small zers, each and every one of us, who are really givers, and we're trying to fix the world? That's one understanding of 𝑔ַמֶד 𝘠𝙁 𝑙𝑎𝑢𝑚𝑎𝑡 𝑧 That's how we are. And you know what? Your approach might be different to my approach, but we're part of the same constructive team. And we will get there to construct a better world. Or do we have a mindset of being a taker? And our liability, the liability of a taker, is that you're trying to get as much as you can, and you're trying to get as much. We're all in it together to take. And you know what? We will get there first. We'll be a bit destructive, and we'll get there with a more initiative, and we will have our own agendas, and we will be able to manipulate, and we will get the media, and we'll do all sorts of things to get what we want. And what we'll create out of that is Gehenna. Disaster. And if anybody doesn't know what disaster looks like, look what's going on generally around the world. It's not good. It's not good.
Let's all be motivated to be givers and to go out with an attitude of giving, but real giving, knowing that everyone is on the same constructive team. Tomorrow, I can't wait to get to Acher. Where are you, Bubala? He's coming. Wish you well. Have an amazing day, and we will continue tomorrow. Lots of love.
You too, Dave. God bless.
Bye.